We are at the Fagernes Open in Norway. 5 rounds have been completed, and this is the fifth round game between Vaishali, who's playing with the white pieces, against Sethuraman. Now, Vaishali, as we all know, is one of India's top female players. She's India number 3 with a rating of 2451. Sethuraman, amazing player, former Asian champion, almost close to 2700 at one point, current rating of 2645. Vaishali, we know, loves to attack, and this game is no different. She attacks amazingly. Okay, this game is beautiful, but I want to make it a little bit more sort of structured. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you questions to guess the move on 13 occasions. Okay, 1 3, and you have to figure out by the end of this video as to how many points have you scored out of 13. Okay, shall we do it? Let's go. So Vaishali, starting with white, opens the game with 1e4, c5 by Sethu, knight f3, d6, d4, cd, knight d4, knight f6, knight c3. So we have a position here which is the open Sicilian, and black goes for the move a6, Najdorf. Vaishali plays the move that is sort of trending now, bishop d3. And Sethu says, okay, the bishop is placed there. I am ready to transpose into a dragon structure. And now Vaishali goes f3. The point is you want to play bishop e3 without having to worry about knight g4. You want to go queen d2 and long castle. Sethu said that now that this is your plan, I am no longer comfortable having the dragon set up with bishop g7, castles and so on. So I'm going to strike in the center with e5. Okay, Vaishali moves her knight back. Bishop e6, bishop to e3 developing, knight b d7, queen to d2, b5. Very typical play. And Vaishali has, actually the nice thing about Vaishali is that there is no pretense or anything. She just long castle. She's like, let's start, let's fight. Queen c7. And now here king b1, very logical move, would have been pretty okay, but Vaishali went for f4. This is already not a great move, but it's complicated. She's saying to black, I'm threatening to push f5 now. What is your plan? So black, Sethu, of course, very sharp here, finds an excellent move, b4, pushing the knight. And the main point, you would love to play your knight to d5, but after bishop d5, very important move, ed, knight takes d5, fe, knight e3, queen e3, knight e5. It seems like white should have compensation here, but unfortunately he does not. This formation is pretty solid. Bishop g7 and long and short castle happening very soon. So that's the reason why Vaishali had to go knight e2. This is a small concession there. a5, pawn is coming up ahead. Now you need to think about a4. So that's why Vaishali plays king b1. She wants to put her knight back on c1 when a4 comes. Bishop e7, h3. And I think a4 with the idea of even b3 could have been a very nice way to play, or just queen b7 here. I believe that black has a good position here. Very, very strong. Actually, Sethu would have been much better, but he played h5. And this is where Vaishali is like, let's go now. g4. Okay. She sacrifices a pawn because the king is in the center. You know, she wants to attack. Hg, take, take. Okay. Normal position. And now Sethu here takes this with the bishop. So overall, with some bit of play, Vaishali has now made the position quite complicated. After bishop g4, she gave a check. Bishop drop back. I think knight f8 was a better move here, but bishop drop back, fe and d. You must be wondering that we've completed so many moves, 20 actually to be precise, and you haven't asked us any questions. Well, this is your first one now. It all starts from this point because the game is very, very complicated and you need to figure out what should white be playing here. White to pick. So the move that is very good here, and if you found it, well done, is bishop b5. Just pinning the knight here, just putting the bishop on an excellent square. And I would say full point here for that. Another move which is very interesting is a4. If you found this, you are a genius. You want to just block these pawns. And the main point is that after ba3, what happens is that you get the c3 square for your knight. And that is why you play a4. Once your knight comes here, you have all sorts of threats here now in this position. So that is the reason why a4 is very good. But bishop b5, more human, nets you the full point. Sethu did not like the fact that this was pinned here, and he decided to play king e7, which is very logical. Now for your second point, what would you play here as white? White to play. Yes, you pin from the other side now. Bishop to g5. So very cool. This first you pinned here. Now you pinned here. So 2 points if you like. This was the second question. Now, Sethu said, I am going to play queen to b7. I'm going to attack your bishop, and I'm also going to attack your pawn here. So here's your next question. Third, for the third point, what would you play here as white? White to play. So remember that this bishop actually protects the knight. So in case if you are planning to take here after queen d7, bishop f6, king f6, you are not losing the queen because this is protected. So that doesn't work. A very good move here, by the way, is still a4. The same concept, ba, you put your knight here with a winning advantage. Very strong, very powerfully the knight comes into the game. But the best move here, and I think an amazing move here, is knight e4. And it is actually this very knight going to d4 which gives you the full point. Not this knight, which was chosen by Vaishali in the game. She played nbd4. And we will come to the moment why this is much better to play the other knight. We will discuss it in a bit. But when he played nbd4, your next question, if you found this this move, knight ed4, you get full points. No, not full points for knight bd4, but at least half a point for your energy and enthusiasm. Here, it's black to play now. You have to take the defensive mantle on your shoulders. What would you play here as black? There are two good defensive moves. Okay, Sethu played rook c8. Very good move, I would say. Stopping all ideas of bishop c6 and knight c6 for the time being. The other good move here was e takes d4. And the point is that after you take on d7, now look, you have three ways of recapturing it. You can take with the bishop, you can take with the queen, and you can take with the king, not the knight. Knight is pinned. So let's say you start off with bishop takes, that loses the game to queen takes d4. Now this is hanging, and if you were to play bishop g7, well, rook a8 could be possible, but there is a mate here with queen c5. Very powerful. King e6 forced, and knight f4, game over. So bishop d7 out of question. If you play with the queen takes on d7, you have a very strong move, queen f4, putting pressure here. This is also pinned. Again, it's a winning position with e5 coming up. And if you take here with the king, which is the correct move, this is the best move. Queen takes d4, check. Bishop d6, very strong move. Now notice how the rook is hanging, so be careful, very careful here. Rook takes a8, queen takes a8, and now you go and take with the queen. And here there is a small question that I have for you. After takes on e2, take on f7, king c8, what is the move you will play here as white? This is actually for a point. I think this is the fifth point now. Yeah, fifth point in the position. What would you play here as white? Well, you want to give a check, but you have to give the right check. Queen e8 check does not work after king b7. This point you need a check from this square, so that's the reason why you start off with queen g8 check, king b7, queen d5 check, and white wins the game. So that's the reason why I would say that e takes d4 here is fine, and that is why we should have Vaishali should have played knight e d4, because in the same line after bishop d7, king d7, queen d4, bishop d6, you see what's wrong here, right? White to play. It's not for points, but just what's white's move. Yep, knight c5 check. It's a check to the king and the queen, and that is game over. So knight c5 check is a very, very powerful move. Okay, going back, nbd4 was played, and as we said, two good moves, e takes d4 and rook c8, but I think rook c8 more simple. And Vaishali now, oops, I had to ask a question here. What did Vaishali play here? Okay, anyway, let's make it a 12 pointer, not 13. Vaishali here, in her element, she says goes knight f4. She's like, look, you can take one of the two knights. So actually, I'm not putting another piece opri. I'm just putting it out there. You take whichever piece you want. Okay, so now firstly, if you take e d4, doesn't work because of bishop d7, queen d7, and knight d5 check. If you take with the king here, then there are a few possibilities. What should white do here? Let's ask this question. Maybe make this the 13th point. What should white play here? White to play. Well, queen d4 does make sense, but after bishop d6, black is okay, still fighting. A good move here is rook f8. Rook f8, and now playing queen takes d4, check. King has to move, let's say king c7, and here playing bishop takes f6, and white has great compensation, in fact quite a huge advantage here. So rook f8 was a nice move, stopping bishop d6 from coming up. I mean, if you take here and bishop d6, then rook c8, let's say king c8, bishop f6, this is also a playable position. But after queen c6, this is, I think white is not as much better as if you would have taken on f8 here and then done this. Okay, knight f4, queen takes e4 was played by Sethuraman here. And here's your next question. What should white play here? It's not an this is not your question. Knight c6 was played by Vaishali, and this is your next question. What should black play? Right, so the point is that here you want to move your king or take this. This is the two questions. These are the two questions. So first let's analyze. King e8 was played in the game, but rook c6, this is the best move. You get full points if you found this move. And of course Vaishali was not planning to take here, because then black is just better in this position. Black is completely fine. Her plan was definitely to go knight d5 check. This is what she wanted. And here's your next question. What should black do here? Here it's very important to realize that all the moves are losing apart from king e6. Because if you go king e8, then I have bishop f6, or even a very simple bishop takes c6 would do here. And rest of the moves like king d6 just comes into the way of a deadly check here with knight takes, and king d8 pins the knight here. So after bishop c6 there is trouble anyway, but king e6 is correct. The point is after bishop takes c6, okay, if you take knight f6, rook f8, rook d6, black is better and winning. But bishop takes c6, knight takes, bishop d7, king d7, rook f8. And now in this position, after check, takes, king e6, the position is around equal. So taking on c6 was correct by Sethu, but he did not. He went king e8. And here comes your next question. What should white play? White to move. So Sethu now played a very Vaishali played a very good move here, which is bishop takes f6. I really like this a lot. Very straightforward. She takes it, and now Sethu plays rook takes c6. But let's say if he took on f6, you have to figure out how should white win. In such positions, seem like any move would win, but actually not. You have to be careful. So there is this big disco here, discovered check, but the move is very important, is knight b4. If you were to play knight e5 after king e7, black is okay. So therefore knight b4 check, king e7. Well, if you play bishop d7, there is knight d5, very strong move. Take, bishop b5 check, and you lose the queen. So king e7 check here, take, king e6. And one more point in this position, what should white play? Because right now it seems like black is doing okay. His pieces seem well positioned. King looks slightly safe, but this is the move that actually kills him. Bishop d7, and after king d7, well, there are many ways. Knight f6 is the cleanest with a check and game over. So actually there are not many ways. There's only one way. Knight f6 check and wins. Okay, so these were some of the sidelines after if he had taken here knight f6, but rook c6 was played by Sethu. And now your next question here, how did Vaishali finish off the game? Rook c6 is losing, but I mean the losing mistake of the game was king e8 here. If rook takes c6, the game would still be on. King e8 takes rook c6, and now Vaishali finds the only winning move and a very strong move, knight d5. I think Sethu missed this, because if you were to take here and take this, this is already fine for black. So knight d5, and I'm not going to reveal the threat for now. Sethu now could have saved his rook. He decides rook c2, and his point, okay, white to play, this is your final point. What did Vaishali do which made Sethu resign? Yep, rook takes f8, king takes f8, check, and mate, queen h8. Next move is checkmate. So rook takes f8 was a phenomenal solution here, very nice, and it's over. And actually whatever you do, rook takes f8 is unstoppable, because next move I'm coming in with my queen here with a mate. So a phenomenal game, I would say, by Vaishali. I think from 13 questions that I asked here, let me know in the comments how many points did you score. I really loved how she attacked, you know, the way in which she sort of, I know it was not perfect, but to beat a 2650 plus player, like 2650 45 player in this style, shows what a fearless player Vaishali is. And she is right now doing really well. If we look at the standings of the tournament, right now we have 4 Indians who are in the lead. Sorry, 5 of them: Abhimanyu Puranik, SL Narayanan, Vaishali, Shashikiran, and Pragnananda. All of them on 4 out of 5. So out of the 8 leaders that are there in the tournament, 5 of them are Indians. And maybe Prag and Vaishali might face off against each other. For now, next round it's Abhimanyu versus Prag. Vaishali takes on Mads Anderson, and Vaishali is already gaining 11 ELO points with a performance of 2638. If she is able to keep this performance going, she will score her third GM norm. She has 2 already, and she is now 2462. So moving towards the 2500 ELO, and would become the third ever Indian female player to get a grandmaster title after Humpy and Harika. We are waiting for that. For now, I hope you like this video. I know it was slightly more complex than usual, but I'm sure it's very useful for you to improve your chess. This is Sagar Shah signing off. Bye bye.